sharing protein bars and coffee to keep themselves awake. Outside the canopy, nothing but endless darkness. Inside their bodies, a battle raging against fatigue, hunger. Their endurance is not just physical. It's mental, emotional, even spiritual. They face the same weaknesses we all do. They feel the same exhaustion, the same doubts, the same aching desire to close their eyes and let go. But what sets them apart is what they do next. They resist. They push forward. They remind themselves that their mission is larger than their fatigue, larger than their discomfort, larger even than themselves. Another recalled the deep silence between him and his co-pilot, a silence not of distance, but of trust, each man carrying the other through the darkest hours. The B-2 is often called a ghost, but it isn't a ghost because of its radar signature. It's a ghost because it demands that its pilots become almost invisible, disappearing into the sky, into the mission, into their duty. And when they return, exhausted but successful, they carry with them not just the pride of having flown a $2 billion machine. Could you do the same? $2 billion. That's the price tag of a single aircraft. Not a fleet, not a program. One plane is called the B-2 Spirit, the world's first true stealth bomber. But the B-2 Spirit was built to make them all useless. One ghost in the sky, and the walls of steel and fire became paper. But here's the truth. Behind this machine, you see, technology can only go so far. Yes, the plane is invisible to radar. Yes, it can carry nuclear weapons. Yes, it can fly across the globe. But none of that matters without the men who step inside, close the canopy, and commit to missions that last longer than most of us can even imagine. Missions not of hours, but of days. 44 hours. Nearly 2 full days in the cockpit. Flying across oceans, across continents. No sleep, no escape, no pause. And this is where the true story begins. Engines roar, but even their sound is muted, designed to blend into the night sky. The B-2 lifts off, black wings slicing into the darkness. And then the world below disappears. Hour after hour, the mission stretches on. The aircraft feels steady, but the weight is in your body. Fatigue builds, muscles ache. Your mind screams for rest, but you push forward, fighting against sleep, fighting against time. And when you realize this, you begin to see the Spirit differently. It is not only a weapon of war. It is a mirror, but its true value is not in the wings, not in the stealth, not in the nuclear payload it can carry. Its true value is found in the human beings inside. Your entire universe is reduced to a seat, a control stick, and the quiet presence of your co-pilot. Outside, darkness. Inside, pressure. Food becomes survival, not pleasure. Forget hot meals. You must carry the weight. So together, you trade exhaustion back and forth, like a burden neither of you can put down. The physical toll is brutal. Your body aches from sitting. Your muscles stiffen. Your joints scream for movement. Dehydration creeps in because you drink less to avoid constant interruptions. Your skin feels the dry pressure of the cabin air, stretching across the horizon. Sometimes you glimpse the curve of the earth, or the cold light of distant stars. But mostly, it is nothing, an infinite void. Inside, just sleep. But you can't. Not here. Not now. And with the fatigue comes doubt. What if I miss something? What if I fail my partner? What if I fail the mission? Every pilot feels it. Every pilot wrestles with it. Because in this cockpit, mistakes are not allowed. Every button matters. Every switch matters. Every choice matters. The silence is heavy. Against hunger, against fatigue. And somehow, the mission always won. That is the truth of the B-2 Spirit. It is not just stealth technology. It is not just engines and wings. The pilots are exhausted beyond words. But they are also proof. Proof that the human body can bend without breaking. Proof that the human spirit can carry weight beyond imagination. 44 hours without rest. A test not of technology, but of endurance. A battle fought not in the skies, but within the heart and mind of every pilot who dares to fly the Spirit. Two tired pilots guiding $2 billion of stealth technology to within just a few feet of another aircraft. The margin for error? Almost zero. A wrong movement, a slip of the hand, a moment of lost focus, and disaster follows. Now imagine doing this, not once, but multiple times, across oceans and continents, because a B-2 mission lasting 44 hours requires more than fuel in its tanks. It requires precision, discipline, and the ability to stay sharp when your body and mind are begging you to shut down. Pilots have described the scene, the darkness outside, the tanker suddenly appearing above, its lights faint but steady, the steady voice of the boom operator guiding them in. And inside the cockpit, every nerve stretched tight, every muscle rigid, as the B-2 slides forward. But up here, a single mission stretches so far that pilots witness the sun rise, then set, then rise again, all within one flight. Think about that. 2 sunrises, 2 sunsets. Your mind insists it cannot go further. And yet, you must, because the B-2 does not stop, cannot stop. It was designed to cross oceans, to slip into enemy territory. That's half the circumference of the Earth. A journey that lasted 44 hours, almost 2 full days, without touching the ground. Consider that. 2 human beings, 1 technical failure, and the mission could end in tragedy. The pilots know this. They feel it, but they accept it, because the stakes are higher than their fatigue, higher than their pain, and the wheels touch down. The pilots step out broken in body, but unbroken in spirit. They carry the weight of exhaustion, but also the pride of achievement. They are men. Men who grow tired. Men who feel doubt. Men who, like the rest of us, sometimes want nothing more than to close their eyes and escape into sleep. Inside the cockpit of a B-2, the spirit to trust. You see, a mission of 44 hours cannot be carried alone. It is carried together. 2 pilots, side by side, bound not just by duty, but by trust. A silent reminder that you are not alone, even in the loneliest place on earth. And beyond trust in each other, there is something even greater: responsibility. Every time the B-2 takes off, its pilots know what is at stake. They know that the choices they make, the discipline they maintain, the endurance they show, could mean life or death for thousands of people on the ground. Faith in their mission. Faith that what they do matters. This is the paradox of the B-2 spirit. It is a machine designed to be invisible, yet it reveals something profoundly human. It shows us that the greatest power does not come from radar evasion, or stealth coding, or billion-dollar engineering. It comes from the human heart, because at the end of the day, our own moments when giving up feels easier than pressing on. And in those moments, we can remember the pilots of the B-2, not because they are stronger than us, but because they are just like us. And yet, they chose to endure. They chose to believe. So maybe the question is not, could I survive 44 hours in the sky? But the strength of our spirit. The B-2 teaches us this. The greatest stealth weapon of all is not the aircraft itself. It is the invisible will of the human soul. And that is what keeps them flying. The runway appears in the distance. After 44 hours in the sky, the wheels of the B-2 spirit finally touch the ground. Their eyes sting with exhaustion. And yet, beneath that fatigue, there is something else. Something no one can take away. Pride. Not pride in themselves, but it also reminds us that we are capable of more than we ever imagined. So when they finally walk away from the aircraft, their legs unsteady, their eyes heavy, not because it is stealthy, but because it shows us the most powerful force on earth, the human will. So ask yourself, could you sit in that cockpit? 2 days without rest. So the next time you see an image of the B-2, remember this: what makes it a ghost is not the radar it evades. What makes it a ghost is the invisible will of the men inside. The men who disappear into their mission and emerge carrying proof of what the human soul can endure. Now I leave you with one final question, and it is not about technology. It is not about war. It is about you. Would you dare to sit in that cockpit? The mission was complete. The target had been reached. The orders had been fulfilled. Yet what remained was not just the success of technology. Their eyes burned with exhaustion. Every muscle screamed for rest. Yet, in that very moment of weakness, they carried something far greater than fatigue. They carried pride. They carried a sense of honor that no machine, no system, no weapon could ever replace. The B-2 is often seen as the most advanced bomber in the world, worth more than $2 billion. It lies in the men and women who fly it, in their willingness to endure the impossible, to stretch the limits of body and mind, and to disappear into the mission. After 44 hours in the sky, I felt like I had lived through more than a mission. I had lived through a lifetime compressed into 2 days. Think about that for a moment. A lifetime, 2 sunrises, 2 sunsets. We see a kind of quiet heroism that does not make headlines, that does not shout for recognition, but that changes the world in silence. And so, as the pilots walk away from their aircraft, but perhaps its true spirit is not the bomber itself. It is the men and women who, for 44 endless hours, become one with it. Flesh and blood merging with steel and shadow. If you were asked to sit in that cockpit, strapped into that seat, staring at the horizon with 44 hours of sky ahead of you, could you endure? Could you keep going,